The haunting story of the brothers' home is one of the darkest chapters in modern South Korean history. Though there is a widely debunked theory linking the popular TV series The Squid Games to the infamous brothers' home, the reality of what transpired in that institution is far more horrifying than any fiction. The brothers' home, often referred to as South Korea's Auschwitz, became synonymous with human suffering. Its origins trace back to the devastating aftermath of the Korean War. In the absence of welfare policies for the vulnerable, the South Korea's government chose to hide social stains rather than help them. Officials viewed the homeless as symbols of disorder and poverty, blemishes on the nation's image, and acted accordingly. In the 1960s, a so-called cleansing of South Korea's streets began. In 1961, Korean government released a set of laws under which major cities established detention centers for the homeless. These laws institutionalized the practice of rounding up everyone perceived as undesirables. The police conducted regular patrols, targeting orphans, abandoned children, the disabled, and anyone else who fit their criteria. In some cases, children were taken from the streets without their parents' knowledge, leaving families to search and grieve for years without even knowing what happened to them. Those detained were sent to one of 36 facilities across the country, with Brothers Home being the largest. Brothers Home was founded in 1960 as an orphanage in Busan. It was originally called the Brothers Orphanage. In 1975, it was converted into a homeless shelter. What happened within its walls defies comprehension. The residents endured unimaginable abuse. Beatings, torture, forced labor, and sexual exploitation became part of their daily life. Under the authority of its director, Park In-jin, a rigid hierarchy was established among the inmates, creating a brutal system of control. Selected residents were given authority over others, with titles like commander, platoon leader, and team leader. This hierarchy bred a climate of fear and violence. If one person in a platoon broke a rule, the entire group was punished. Punishments ranged from physical beatings to prolonged unnatural stress positions, a method designed to break both body and spirit. Director Park personally carried out many of these atrocities. He is said to have kept handcuffs and oak clubs in his office, tools he used to inflict more suffering on the inmates whenever he chose. He is believed to be responsible for the deaths of nearly 50 people under his care. He ruled the establishment with iron fist and used his power to torment the inmates. The horrors didn't end there. Allegations surfaced that inmates were given antipsychotic drugs as a form of chemical restraint. Records show that in 1986 alone, the Brothers Home purchased nearly 250,000 units of an antipsychotic drug called chlorpromazine. The city of Busan claimed these were for medical use, but their purpose remains questionable. What the residents endured under the influence of these substances is left to the imagination. Tragically, children who were part of the establishment were not spared. Some inmates brought their young children with them, who then became targets of sexual exploitation by the platoon officers. The institutionalized abuse on these minors were pervasive and devastating. A glimmer of hope emerged in 1982 when a man named Mr. Kong filed a petition against the government. He alleged that his brother had been tortured at Brothers Home and implicated Director Park. But Mr. Kong's bravery came at a cost. He was sentenced to 8 months in prison for false accusations. However, his actions ignited a much needed, decade long investigation into the horrors of Brothers Home. Even today, the scars remain. As of 2022, reports indicate that over 657 people lost their lives at Brothers Home. Some were secretly buried or cremated, while others' bodies were sold to hospitals. The institution was also implicated in one of the largest international adoption schemes, sending over 200,000 South Korean children, many falsely registered as orphans, to families in Europe and America. This adoption racket involved high ranking military leaders and corrupt officials. For his crimes, Director Park received a paltry 2.5-year prison sentence. And that was not for human rights abuse, but for embezzlement and corruption. Justice was never truly served for the victims of Brothers Home. Their suffering, though distinct from the fictional plight of Squid Game's players, was equally harrowing and real. The story of Brothers Home stands as a chilling reminder of what happens when a society turns its back on its most vulnerable. The pain and injustice endured by its victims must never be forgotten. That's the video for today. If you liked it, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'm very close to 500 subscribers. I'd like to reach there in this lifetime. Thank you for watching.